Within a training session, I tend to group players into three general categories. And again, these are general, there are others, definitely can be expanded. But these are the three general kind of, buckets that I think players kind of fall into when it comes to training their approach to the game in general. The largest bucket and where I think most players fall are the players who show up to training and they do, pretty much exactly what the coach asks, but not really any more, not really any less. They kind of do what they're told. Might not pay attention from time to time, but for the most part, they show up to training, do what's asked, and kind of go home. This is where I feel most players fall. And again, nothing wrong with this. Players can do that and have a great, youth sports experience, grow, develop, enjoy the game. There's nothing wrong with it, but I would say this is where most players fall. Who when they're at training or in terms of games as well. Then the other bucket, if you're kind of looking at a bell curve, the other side of the curve, and a smaller majority are those players that come to training and just never turn off. There's an intensity and a commitment to improving that is uncommon amongst other players. And you can see it no matter what is being asked of them. They're not just doing it, but they're doing it at a very high level of intensity. You can see they're trying to get better. That's their focus. They're fully committed to improving in everything they do, and they don't skip or waste any moment on the field in pursuit of their goals and what they're trying to achieve. They're just always trying to do extra and everything they can to help themselves and the other players and the team around them. Again, that's not common. Typically on teams, you're not going to find a ton of players like that. You might have a great team, a lot of hardworking players, but I'm talking about those kids who just do not turn off. When they step on the field, that just switch is always on. There's just an uncommon intensity and drive and focus and commitment into their level of play. Now, the other side of that bell curve is another, I think, smaller majority. And these are the ones that I'm always the most cautious of. And I really try to find and really talk to these players a lot because I think this is the most dangerous bucket for a player to be in. And this is the player that shows up to training and somewhat already feels like they're too good. They're having success early, and then within training and even kind of what they're doing, they're doing fine, they're doing well, they can do what's being asked, but you can tell the effort's not there. You can tell that some things they feel are beneath them or they don't have to do anymore because they're the better player on the team or they're having success or they score all the goals. We see these players from time to time. Again, it's a smaller bucket, but for these players, I feel it's the most dangerous bucket to be in because, again, they come to training with this false sense of, I've already made it. I'm done. I don't need to do this. I've got this. I'm not being challenged. These players, for me, again, it's sometimes those stories of players that kind of be the saddest because they're enjoying the game. They love to play. They're having success. And they kind of fall into the assumption that that success is just going to continue, that they're just already that good. And what ends up happening in time, especially at the younger age groups, 9, 10s, and 11s, maybe 12s, where these players fall into this bucket, they stop working. And what happens is that even players in the middle of that bell curve are continuing to work, and especially the players on the farther end, because I never said those players in the other bucket were the best players on the team. They just are relentless in their work rate and effort. They're going to slowly, but probably definitely over time, catch those players and surpass them. So these players in that bucket who kind of stop working, think they've already made it, kind of, again, you just can see they're not taking things too seriously, can't be told or corrected. If they don't want to learn, eventually they're going to be surpassed. And it's a very sad bucket to be in because what ends up happening 3, 4 years down the road is these players who love the game are having success, but decide to stop working, all of a sudden become very frustrated with the game. And something that they really love to do, they're going to struggle to do it at the same level. They're going to see players passing them by. And eventually that frustration often can turn into those players stopping to play because the game's no longer fun for them. They were having fun before because they were very successful. Maybe, because they were one of the bigger players on the field, the most physical, fastest. They just cognitively at that time, physically developed faster than some of the others. And when everyone catches up and they've stopped working, they get surpassed. And again, then it's frustrating. And then people ask, oh, what happened? And you used to be such a strong player at these age groups, and now these 15, 16, 17, 18 age groups when it kind of really matters the most, kind of where level you're at and to continue to move on and playing, they're not there anymore. So for me, these are the three buckets that players fall into often when I'm watching them train or playing in games. And again, I think most players fall into that middle bucket. Very few are in that one bucket about that relentless work rate. They just are different. They're always turned on, working hard, developing, and then again you have that one bucket of players who kind of seem like they've already made it, and they kind of stop working and just kind of enjoying success they're having now, and not kind of really working towards being better later on. So. Something to think about. You talk with your players. Players, you're watching this. Which bucket are you in? Which bucket do you want to be in? Because it's a choice, and you choose where you are. Whether you're in that middle bucket, that bucket of players who just are relentless in their work rate, or that bucket of players that feel like, hey, I've made it. I don't need to work hard anymore, and just see where that takes you. But that choice is completely and 100% yours.